President Xi said he believes. President Xi Jinping on Monday called for continued solidarity with African countries to forge ahead in building a China-Africa community with a shared future in the new era in his keynote speech at the opening of the 8th Ministerial Conference of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, via videolink in Beijing. Noting this year marks the 65th year of the start of diplomatic relations between China and Africa, President Xi said the two sides have forged unbreakable brotherly bond in their struggle against imperialism and colonialism, embarked on a distinctive path of cooperation in the journey toward development and rejuvenation, and written a splendid chapter of mutual assistance amidst of complex changes, setting a shining example for the building of a new type of international relations. President Xi said the key to such a relationship and deep bond between the two sides lies in an everlasting spirit of China-Africa friendship and cooperation forged between them, which features sincere friendship and equality, win-win for mutual benefit and common development, fairness and justice, progress with the times, as well as openness and inclusiveness. This truly captures the relations of China and Africa working together through weal and woe over the past decades, and provides a source of strength for the continuous growth of China-Africa friendly relations. As this year marks the 50th anniversary of the restoration of the lawful seat of the People's Republic of China in the United Nations, President Xi expressed sincere appreciation to the many African friends who supported China back then. He also solemnly reiterated that China will never forget the profound friendship of African countries and will work together with African friends to carry forward the spirit of China-Africa friendship and cooperation from generation to generation. Over the past 3 years and more, China and Africa have worked together to fully implement the 8 major initiatives and other major outcomes of the Beijing Summit, and completed a large number of major cooperation projects. China-Africa trade and China's investment in Africa have been on a steady rise. Almost all African members of FOCAC have joined the big family of Belt and Road cooperation. All these have injected strong impetus into the China-Africa Comprehensive Strategic and Cooperative Partnership, President Xi said. President Xi put forth 4 proposals to build a China-Africa community with a shared future in the new era. First is to fight COVID-19 with solidarity. President Xi stressed the need to put people and their lives first, be guided by science, support waiving intellectual property rights on COVID-19 vaccines, and truly ensure the accessibility and affordability of vaccines in Africa to bridge the immunization gap. Second is to deepen practical cooperation. President Xi called for need to open up new prospects for China-Africa cooperation, expand trade and investment, share experience on poverty reduction, strengthen cooperation on digital economy, and promote entrepreneurship by young Africans as well as the development of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. He said China welcomes African countries' active participation in the Global Development Initiative. Third is to promote green development. In the face of climate change, President Xi called for the need to advocate green and low-carbon development, actively promote solar, wind and other sources of renewable energy, work for effective implementation of the Paris Agreement on climate change and keep strengthening capacity for sustainable development. Fourth is to uphold equity and justice. President Xi said the world needs true multilateralism. Peace, development, equity, justice, democracy and freedom are common values of humanity and represent the abiding aspirations of both China and Africa. Both sides advocate a development path suited to their national conditions and are both committed to upholding the rights and interests of developing countries, oppose intervention in their internal affairs, racial discrimination and unilateral sanctions. Both need to unequivocally stand for the just propositions of developing countries and translate common aspirations and interests into joint actions. President Xi said China will work closely with African countries to implement the following 9 programs. The first is the Medical and Health Program. President Xi announced that China will provide another 1 billion doses of vaccines to Africa, undertake 10 medical and health projects for African countries, and send 1,500 medical personnel and public health experts to Africa. The second is the Poverty Reduction and Agricultural Development Program. China will aid Africa in implementing 10 poverty reduction and agricultural projects, sending 500 agricultural experts to the continent, setting up a batch of China-Africa joint centers for modern agricultural technology demonstration and training, encouraging Chinese institutions and enterprises to build model villages in Africa for China-Africa agricultural development and poverty reduction demonstration, and supporting China's Corporate Social Responsibility Alliance in Africa to launch activities in which 100 enterprises are to help 1,000 villages there. The third is the Trade Promotion Program. China will open Green Channel for African agricultural exports to China, speed up the inspection and quarantine procedures, and further increase the scope of products enjoying zero-tariff treatment for the least developed countries, LDCs, having diplomatic relations with China, in a bid to reach $300 billion in total imports from Africa in the next 3 years. The fourth is the Investment Promotion Program. China will encourage its businesses to invest no less than $10 billion in Africa in the next 3 years and will establish a platform for China-Africa private investment promotion. The fifth is the Digital Innovation Program. China will undertake 10 digital economy projects for Africa, set up centers for China-Africa cooperation on satellite remote sensing application, and support the development of China-Africa joint laboratories, partner institutes, and scientific and technological innovation cooperation bases. The sixth is the Green Development Program. China will undertake 10 green development, environmental protection and climate action projects for Africa, support the development of the Great Green Wall, and build in Africa centers of excellence on low-carbon development and climate change adaptation. The seventh is the Capacity Building Program. China will help build or upgrade 10 schools in Africa, and invite 10,000 high-level African professionals to seminars and workshops, continue to work with African countries to set up Luban workshops, and encourages Chinese companies in Africa to create at least 800,000 local jobs. The eighth is the Cultural and People-to-People Exchange Program. China will support making all African countries having diplomatic ties with China-approved destinations for Chinese tourist groups, will hold African film festivals in China and Chinese film festivals in Africa, as well as a China-Africa Youth Services Forum, and a China-Africa Women's Forum. The ninth is the Peace and Security Program. China will undertake 10 peace and security projects for Africa, continue to deliver military assistance to the African Union, support African countries' efforts to independently maintain regional security and fight terrorism, and conduct joint exercises and on-site training between Chinese and African peacekeeping troops and cooperation on small arms and light weapons control. At the end of his speech, President Xi said,
我相信在中非双方共同努力下，这次中非合作论坛会议一定能够取得圆满成功，凝聚起中非27亿人民的磅礴力量，推动构建高水平中非命运共同体。
The conference, being held in Dakar, Senegal, will run through Tuesday.